Rada couldn't participate in the meeting, but I will try to give you a small overview on the way how we see the measure, Smart Village measure, in a CAP plan, and some probably basic information, because as Richard mentioned, we all now we are planning, we are developing this idea. So at the beginning, just a few words about the existing tools for supporting rural areas. The current programming period, the first tool is of course LEADER. And what we support under LEADER? We of course support local businesses. We support construction or reconstruction of available for public and non-commercial tourist, recreational and cultural infrastructure. We also support public roads. We support promoting the local development strategy area, local products. We also support strengthening a social capital, mainly by raising the knowledge of the local community in the field of environmental protection and climate change, also by using innovative solutions. But not only in this area, that could be just an example. We also support cooperation between entities conducting businesses activity in the rural areas, like short supply chains, tourist services, agricultural services, local products, and so on. So as you can see, quite a wide range of the support. Of course, everything depends on the strategy. Each LAC has a bit different strategy and focus on different areas. Of course, everything is based on the local needs. Legal coverage. At the moment in Poland, we have over 300 LACs. Some of them are mono-fund, just with the agricultural fund, but we also have a multi-fund strategies. In Poland, we have 16 regions. We call them voivodeships, and in 2 voivodeships, Kujawsko-Pomorskie region, which is a region from Richard originally comes from, and the Podlaskie region. In those regions, we have also some strategies which are mono-fund, only with agricultural fund, but we also have some multi-fund strategies. And they involve, except agricultural fund, also the social fund, regional fund, and fishery fund. And one strategy we have with 4 funds. The average budget of the strategy is between a bit more than 1 million up to 4 million euro per LAG. Also, what kind of support for the rural areas we have, except LEADER? We have measures or type of operations under measures called investment in facilities with cultural functions, public space development and protection of monuments and traditional buildings. And the support for that, this kind of interventions is also quite wide. What we support? We support construction, reconstruction, or equipment of buildings performing cultural functions, including common rooms and community centers. Public space development, like parks, village centers. Renovating or improving the condition of historic buildings. Of course, those historic buildings which are intended to preserve cultural heritage. Also for purchasing buildings characteristic of the construction tradition in a given region for public purposes. And so far we have more than 600 operations for more or less 97 million euros. We also, if we are talking about the support for rural areas, we cannot forget about the measure cooperation. the European Partnership for Innovation. And probably some of you know that that measure. It's measure for farmers and for let's say scientists to solve the farmers' problems. So under this measure, so far we have just 31 EIP groups, but in March this year, we had the third call for applications, and we have more than 150 new applications for aid. So potentially, we will have more than 150 local, not local, but EIP groups. Okay. As it was said, nothing has been decided yet, because of course we are discussing. We are very interested in your reaction, your comments, and we are very open to criticism and suggestions. Okay, just a few words about the main assumptions. How do we see the intervention? First of all, we think that this intervention, because Smart Village, we are trying to have a separate intervention in the CAP plan. It's a climate and environmental intervention with digital requirement. The second information, which I think is quite important, that the innovation according to local conditions, not as advanced research. For example, under program like Horizon 2020, because this is also something what we deal with in a cooperation measure. Some operations are very sophisticated and has very advanced research, which is not necessary, because we think that the innovation it has to be tailor-made for the certain area, certain village, in a case of smart village intervention. Of course, this intervention will have a separate budget, and we'll have a budget for preparation and implementation phase. I mean, two stages. But it's also possible to finance the implementation stage from other interventions or funds. So, in fact, we see a smart village intervention as a little bit like a horizontal intervention. So we can have some financial resources from other interventions from the CAP plan, or also from other funds outside the CAP plan and the agricultural policy. Something what is important to say, that smart village intervention is not a part of the leader. Of course, it's very similar, but has a bit smaller scale. It could be a part of leader if the local action group designed the strategy which implements also smart village, but it's not necessary. Well, as I mentioned, we think that it could be good to have two stages in this intervention. First, preparatory support for the smart village concept, and the second phase, support for the implementation of the smart village concept. I mean, the implementation of the real project which are in the concept. And as I said, probably we won't have enough money to finance all the concept of smart village with the budget which we have for this measure. So the idea is to have some maybe dedicated call for proposals in the leader, or some extra criteria in other measures to finance the projects from the smart village concept in that second phase, I mean the implementation phase. The first stage, the preparatory support for the smart village concept, will be under the Article 71 of the draft regulation, which is cooperation. And to improve the access to knowledge and to encourage innovation, we are going to use some innovation brokers, labs, and maybe some national network structures, just to animate people, to give them some tools, to encourage them to create the smart village concept, I would say. And of course, the second stage is the support for the implementation of smart village concept, which means to finance the project within the strategy, and that's going to be under the Article 68 investments. The territory, that would be the rural area, and the definition of rural area, we think, could be good to have the same definition as we have in LEADER. And the concept is to have the smart village in one town or in few towns, because at the beginning we thought that maybe it's better to limit to one village, but then we have some more discussions. We also have a webinar meeting with some Polish partners, and we decided to allow villages to I don't know how to say, to cooperate and to create one smart village strategy which will cover more than one village. Who might be a beneficiary? In the preparatory stage, that could be a natural person or a legal person, of course, including non-governmental organization. That could be also a local action group, if the local action group wants to be the leader and to prepare the smart village concept. And in the implementation stage, that could be natural person, that could be a legal person, of course, including some non-governmental organization, but also local government, local businesses. And as I said, we are going to have it under Article 71. So, of course, the preparation of the smart village concept needs at least two entities. So it has to be done in a partnership, and I think that's the most important thing. That's the whole concept. Identified needs. Well, due to the fact that we are working on a CAP plan, of course we have a SWOT analysis, and we are working on a diagnosis of the situation in agricultural areas. And we identified few needs, as you can see on the slide, and one of the needs is stimulating the economic development and innovation of localities in rural areas using the social, economic, cultural, and environmental landscape potential, as well as digital tools. And I think that Smart Village very well address this need. The purpose of intervention. At this stage, we think that Smart Village intervention could be the green intervention, because you know that we need some ring fencing. We have to cover some part of the program with the green intervention. So if we are talking about looking for money for Smart Village, we think that quite good idea is to have it green. So the purpose of the intervention could be ensuring availability of a wide catalog of services using digital tools, and that's one thing, but also creating infrastructure that has a positive impact on the environment and climate, but also increasing the production capacity of energy and from renewable resources, of course also including biomass, and preventing the population and the aging of the population, because as Richard mentioned, this is also an issue in rural areas. Selection criteria. We started to think about the selection criteria, and they are a bit different when we are talking about the preparatory support and the implementation phase. In the preparatory support, the criteria could be the quality of the smart village concept preparation process, because at the beginning we don't have the concept yet. So we might take into account the preparatory nature with local community participation and the role of the head of the village leader in this process. The criteria also could be a number of partners, could be organizational potential and experience, but also we think that we can give some extra point for the smart village concept which are on the marginalized areas. But when we are talking about the implementation phase, of course, the quality of smart village concept also is a criteria, but in particular using the agricultural and bioeconomic potential. Another criteria could be performing activities appropriate to the subject of the operation and resources appropriate to the subject of the operation. We mean by this criteria that the smart village concept had to be a tailor-made, very well based on the local needs and with use of local resources. Another criteria could be solutions ensuring reduction of cost of functioning of public space, and solutions ensuring the use of local resources, as I mentioned, and also some extra points for marginalized areas. And as I mentioned already, there will be a possibility to finance initiative from smart village concept or from other interventions, also from LEADER, if local action groups want to do such a tool in their strategy. Form of aid. We are planning to use in a wider range simplified cost options, but in some cases probably it won't be possible, so traditional reimbursement of eligible costs, but with advanced payments assured, because this is also a problem, how to start the project when you don't have an advance. You have to first of all give your own money and then wait for reimbursement. The financial level, of course, we're gonna discuss about this, but at this moment we would like to have 100% reimbursement for all except entrepreneurs, because for them we are planning 75% reimbursement. Next slide, please. What kind of elements of the smart village concept we would like to have, we think, which are necessary? First of all, the effect of the preparatory support is to create a smart village concept for a given town or towns, which should contain at least the following elements. And what kind of elements could that be? A description of the operations to be carried out under this concept, of course, including the description of the needs, and these operations will meet what area and people this operation will affect. Of course, participatory character with the inhabitants, including the community in this in its preparation. Also conducting consultations with the community of a given village. Simplified SWOT analysis, not very long document, not more than 1 page, because we don't have we don't want to have smart village strategy as a very serious document. It has to be a bit much more similar, not similar, but simplified than the leader strategies. A list of initiatives based on a smart village concept with description of social effect, and of course digital, environmental and climate components. Main issues to discuss, because as I said, we are at the beginning of the whole process of drafting the smart village concept. So what we are still have to talk about, first of all, it's obligatory digital, environmental, climate component. As I mentioned, in a context of 30% ring fencing. Quality assessment of smart village concept, maybe expert panels, regionalization of implementation, that it's still open, fair and balanced partnerships. We would like to avoid public entities domination, as sometimes it happens in leader, and we think that it also might happen in smart village. Overlapping with other support. So we need to find the added value of smart village. The other issue we deal with is a limited budget. So for sure we're gonna have to look for financing in other measures or outside the CAP plan. Lack of local leaders to animate the cooperation. In some villages we have a lot of leaders, but some of them not really, so that's something we have to work on. And links with leader and lags, because we don't want to overlap leader and smart village, because we think these interventions are very similar but still very different, because smart village, we think it's more detailed and on a much smaller area than the leader strategy. And of course, keeping the smart village concept simple but comprehensive, which we think is the biggest challenge.